Step into the future of manufacturing with 4Industry's Connected Worker podcast.
Hi, welcome back to another episode of the Connected Worker podcast. Today we're gonna talk to you about how a Connected Worker platform changes processes on the shop floor. And to do that with me, I've got two of my colleagues at 4Industry. To the left, our President of Sales, Laurens de Koning, and to the right, manufacturing expert and solutions consultant. I always have trouble saying that, Matthieu and Laurens. Welcome back, guys.
Welcome. Thank you.
So last time we did a bit of a bigger picture, abstract discussion of the Connected Worker platform, and as a piece of software, we talked about its main features, functionalities. And today I really want to dig into the shop floor reality of the Connected Worker platform. So which things it changes, digitizes, streamlines, etc., etc. So I wanted to start off with a bit of background. Matthieu, could you tell us how things were like in the past and what changed over the year to get us up to this point?
Sure. So when you think of connected worker platform, you've got the workers, and worker, the operators, then is the center, let's say, of the productions. And when you think of the last, let's say, 30 years, 40 years, we had like a ton of softwares around these workers to help him. We had the SCADA system, obviously, in order to control the line. We got the MES systems to monitor how well you are doing the production. You got the ERP for the planning, the laboratory management system, the quality management system, and so on and so on. Plus, on top of that, Excel sheets, paper, SOPs, like a ton of systems around the operators. So the originations of a CWP is the simple, let's say, fact that an operator has to deal with 20 plus different systems every day. So we had this worker connected, let's say, in the factory, but connected by paper, by those
Actually, it was
difficult systems. Yeah, disconnected, yes. And they really had to, because of this disconnection, they really had to, let's say, go to the machine, check the status. Yeah, it's good. Okay, I'm going to check to the next machine and so on. And you had like a breakdown that could appear on the equipment, and you didn't know if you didn't show it, or if you didn't check the SCADA because the SCADA system has an error. So that was really, let's say, the beginning of it because of a CWP, because we thought, well, you had all of those systems. The operator is kind of lost. I think we can say it. And you didn't know where to look at, when to look at. You were not, as an operator, being notified if something goes wrong. So that's, let's say, the context. That's where we were, and still is actually in the manufacturing world today. Yes. When you have like a ton of systems, operators, and yeah, you have to look everywhere, but at the same time, you don't know where to.
Yeah, so basically they are disconnected. That's because of the fact that so much is invested in all kinds of tools, specifically tools in order, because people were thinking, yeah, if we invest a lot in software, in tools and automation and robotization, then we can, basically the business case was, hey, then we can take away a lot of the operators. That was kind of the thinking of the last 20 years. If you think about that, we have now come to a point where we have reached the minimum amount of operators.
Yes.
But with far too many tools in order to do their work efficiently and effectively. Okay. So then the question is, which for the last, I would say, 3 years, how can we get from a disconnected to a connected state? That's basically where what let's say manufacturers start to realize, because and then the question is, why do you want to get in from a disconnected to a connected state? And that's because they now realize the value of an operator, right? And that is because of the fact that at the end of the day, this person is there for, on average, 20 years, 25, 30 years. So he must be doing something good because there's output for the last 50 years already, right? So let's make it worthwhile for him or her as well. And that's, I think, where the origin of a connected worker platform comes from.
So did something happen that really triggered this sudden realization with manufacturers that?
I think what you see now is that people start to realize that one of the big, I would say, triggers will be the lack of good operators, which are available in any plant actually. So companies start to realize that you cannot automate you cannot automate everything. It's just not possible. So you need people in order to do the last mile, right? And at the same time, you now see that because of, let's say, the lack of good people, available people who want to do that kind of work, they are just not there. So you need to think of ways to not only get the right people, to get new people in, but also make the work of the people who are there, make it more meaningful.
Yes.
And by making that more meaningful, also that means that you need to understand what they did and that they can pass that knowledge to other people. As in the new people, right? And I think that's the big driver now for make it to disconnect to connected workers, because I know examples of and we talk with these kind of companies day in, day out, where they know that in 5 years they need to have 100 new operators, and they already know that they can never ever find more than 10. So how do you fill that gap, that 90?
Yeah.
Nobody knows. Where can we find them? Can we outsource it? No, you can't, because we're doing it here. So you need to think of new ways in order to make that it more productive. You need to make them apparently more productive, and you can only do that by connecting them.
Yeah.
Connecting knowledge, connecting people, and hence making them more efficient and productive.
Okay, so let's talk about connected operators then. What are they, and how are they different from unconnected operators?
Well, unconnected operators, they had those several systems that we've talked about. The idea of a connected worker platform, so hence a connected operator, is that we've got to have at least 80-90% of the work into one platform. Of course, there's going to be side activities. There's going to be like specialist, really like things that needs to be done in separate software because that's a requirement from, let's say, particular things. But the idea is that on the grand scheme of things, you've got 80% of your work that is through a single platform. And this single platform, because it's one unified platform, you are able to first make it simpler. So just like Laurens said, make it simpler, make it more how do you call that? Meaningful, thank you. Because instead of learning 20 different applications, you switch from something old, something new, you spend your days in, days out in trainings. Now you've got somebody explaining to you, and then you can just start using it. Because the idea is to work like today you've got you've got applications on your phone, you can install them, and normally you understand how it works.
Yes.
You don't have to read the manuals, you don't have to do classroom trainings. The idea of the connected worker platform is the same. You implement it in one plant. You do a process that is appropriate for, let's say, what you are, let's say, doing into that plant. But afterwards, normally, people should understand what is it. People should use it, and it should be the single pane of glass in order to enable work and in order to know what do I need to do, how I need to do it, where do I need to do it, when should I, let's say, plan the next activities. So really, like, all of those day-to-day things should be inside one platform.
Yeah, and I think what is also important to add is that if you think, so like I just said, less people will need to do more. That's unavoidable because we will have less people available to do that job. So if less people need to do the same amount of work, preferably more work, because you want to increase the output, then that means that by using a connected worker platform, you then need to make it so simple for them so that they indeed can increase productivity, right? Yeah. So that they can do their jobs faster. And that one person can let's say do multiple roles in one person. So he can do a changeover, which he's currently also responsible for. But if there needs to be maintenance, which typically was done by a maintenance person, which it doesn't exist anymore because he's not there, then you need to make sure that one person can do maintenance tasks as well. changeover tasks, cleaning tasks, planning tasks, all kinds of execution tasks in one person, which will add more roles into that one person. And I think that's what we, at the end of the day, are enabling in, to do more with less people in this case.
Yeah, I think this is a really interesting topic, something maybe we can do an entire separate episode on.
Yeah, sure.
For now, let's take our listeners, viewers to the shop floor. So there are several processes that the Connected Worker platform changes on the shop floor. So let's begin with the beginning, and that's a shift handover. Yeah. So how does a CWP change that?
Well, historically, you've got the rooms where you've got like all of kind of dashboards, the Obeya rooms, that's what it's called, when you've got like 6, 8, 9, 10 dashboards, different dashboards coming from different sources, and then you physically, let's say, bring the people all together, doing the shift handover, so explaining, okay, this is the KPI from yesterday, this is what happened, and so on and so on. So it was really, when you think of it, like at least 10 dashboards to update, like every day you have to print them, you have to gather the data, you have to put them into an Excel. The Excel file probably sometimes doesn't work, the beauty of Excel. So just to start by these points, so again, as you said, the shift handover meeting, digitize that, putting everything into one platform and having everything into one screen, which is constantly updated because, well, that's the power of informatics, right? Then that's already a lot of time that is saved for doing other things. Like Laurens said, we've got less people on the shop floors. Those people are less available to do administrative tasks. We should remove that entirely. If you are able to, let's say, complete the work, manage the works from the platform, and this platform is able to do then dashboarding, then hopla, your dashboards for the shift handover are ready, because you just need to put them up and you see exactly what's happening in the last, 24 hours or whatever you define within the platform.
You can get to work much quicker.
Yeah, exactly. You can get to work much quicker because you don't have to spend this administrative time to update everything, every Excel sheets and so on and so on. And also something that we saw at our customers during COVID is that you can do those shift handover meetings remotely. Because the problem with the days that we are in now is that sometimes you just cannot unite two teams in the same location, in the same room. But if you use the same software, if you use the same, let's say, way to communicate, okay, this is what happened last night. Hello, morning shift. This is what we haven't done yet. Then could you please do that, and so on and so on. If you've got these structural communications between shifts, then maybe you don't need, for example, to have those, let's say, face-to-face meetings to hand over from one shift to the next.
Yeah, exactly.
So what about skills? What about checking if people have the right skills or certifications to do certain tasks?
Yeah, because everything is to one platform, you can add skills of people on top of it. So during the shift handover meeting, usually what happens is that you've got the KPI review and then you assign the tasks. And you should make sure that when you assign tasks, indeed you're making right that people have the right skills, have the right experience, have the right trainings, even the right certifications to do what we ask them to do. So indeed, in a connected worker platform, you can manage skills and you can use these informations to track whether you've got a gap or not between what you define as, let's say, mandatory as an operators on the shop floors and what are operators, let's say, learning. And you can use these informations in order to automatically assign tasks to people. Like you've got a cleaning on a particular equipment that is, in a confined space. Then I'm going to look at everybody that has the proper skills, the proper training, and that is able to do these tasks.
And that will lead to a more safer workplace as well, right?
Indeed.
Because that's one of the end goals, I would say. You need to provide a safe workplace to your employees. So if I was a factory director, I want to make sure that Matthieu, in this case, works at this machine or this line, if he is skilled and certified, in order to prevent accidents from happening.
So what if someone isn't skilled? Can a CWP help with that?
Well, at the end of the day, so if you go to the day start or the shift handover, and I'm going to assign a task to Matthieu, and I'm, by dragging, dropping a task and a name into the right, let's say, activity, automatically the system will say, "Hey, but Matthieu, you're not skilled nor satisfied nor skilled nor certified.
Yeah.
So sorry, you can't
can do it.
operate this line or this machine. So hey, just a no." And that's very safe, right? So also as a supervisor, you then know you are being helped by assigning the right people to the right tasks and right environments and right machines. So then he needs to find somebody else in order to do it, or you need to make sure that he will do his skills.
Yeah, and that you can track in the platform and says, well, Laurens, you need to do this training. It's going to be assigned to you. You need to do it like within 1 week, and then you can double check that, like with a what do you call that, a survey at the end to say, well, did you understand it or not, and so on and so on, and then make sure that people are continuously, let's say, up to date with their skills.
Okay. So what happens when the operator enters the shop floor? He has a lot of tasks to do, CIL tasks, audits, inspections, etc., etc., etc. What's different?
Well, it's pretty simple. You just open the applications, and then you see what is assigned to you. Because during the shift handover meetings, usually what happens, the shift leader is going to say, well, Matthieu, you are going to do the CIL, and Laurens, you are going to do the changeover, for instance. And if you open your, let's say, your personal view, your application, whatever shape or forms, then you will view, okay, I have this, and this to do. And it should be a unified list, because at the end of the day, a task is a task. You need to do something on the floor, whether it's a CIL, a changeover, quality control. It's all different things, of course. But at the end of the day, it's just activities that need to be done. It's tasks that need to be done. So you need, in order to, let's say, enable it properly, you need to have one list, one unified list that says everything that you have to do on the shop floor. And that was, by the way, that was a struggle, let's say, and also what leading to a connected worker platform, because when you have 20 systems, like we discussed, then you don't have an overview of where is the emergency, where should I focus my time on, what are the priorities, because quality, for example, they need a sample every 6 hours. Maintenance, they want some things to be checked today, and so on and so on. So having everything into one platform, every task, whatever the kind of task is, it's really allow you as an operator, the shift leaders, the management to understand, okay, this is the priorities. Today we've done that, tomorrow we will do that, and so on and so on.
Yeah, and it prevents an operator to enter, let's say, 10, 15 different tools in order to do that task, right? Because then basically what he needs to know, okay, if I need to do a maintenance job, I need to go into a maintenance tool. And within that tool, I see my top 3 things which I need to do. Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, done that. Next thing. Ooh, now I need to do a safety thing. Yeah. I need to go into a safety tool. Yeah. I need to do a quality inspection.
And then you miss the quality thing.
And then suddenly a real thing appears, as in a breakdown. Where do I register a breakdown? Nobody knows. So, okay, let's write it down. Or and if you then write it down, or you do have a tool, what do I do in order to fix that breakdown, right? So he's continuously switching from tool to tool to tool to tool, which is very inefficient in itself, right? And that's exactly what we are trying to help as well.
Yeah. So let's talk about 2 of the examples you just gave. Breakdown occurs and an operator needs to know what to do. He needs a knowledge article or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. You can register it on the Connected Worker platform, and then you've got access to all the knowledge that is within that platform. And the good thing is that the knowledge that is, let's say, used day to day, for example, you've got your CIL cleaning, inspection, lubrications to do. Maybe that could be useful to fix the breakdown, because for whatever reason, the lubrication wasn't done last time. So maybe you can just, there is no lubricate, I should open the CIL, and then you can do it. And you can really make the, let's say, make the task actionable. So you don't only, you're not only registering when something goes wrong, you're like actively using it, actively using the platforms in order to try to fix the issue, right? With all the knowledge that you have inside.
And can you connect tasks with knowledge in some meaningful way? Like, how do operators access their knowledge with a connected worker platform? Their SOPs, work instructions, whatever.
Yeah, what we see at our customers is that they place QR codes everywhere. So QR codes, you can just print them, it's pretty cheap, you just slap them on every equipment. And if you do that, then you know what are you looking at. Even the most inexperienced workers can just pick up a tablet, scan the QR codes, and see all the knowledge that is attached to it. So that means a checklist, that can be, as you said, a one-point lesson, an OPL, that can be an instruction, an audit, a survey, whatever that is, let's say, connected to the equipment, he or she will see it. So he can already, or she can be already proactive by saying, okay, I hear something strange. I'm going to check the knowledge on the equipment. Maybe there is an SOP that will help me to fix, let's say, this weird noise. Or if not, then we go back to what we discussed as registering deviations.
And if he or she then opens up that SOP, that's obviously, that's what's an SOP is, a very guided and structured way in order to do anything in order to prevent or fix that noise, what he is hearing. And then it really takes him with help of photos, but also with videos on how to do it, right? Yeah. And that's most of the times a relatively big issue, because the operators are not trained, or they did a training a year ago, and then suddenly you need to fix something. And you just watch the video on the app itself, right? Within the application itself, watch the video, takes 15, 20, 25 seconds, right? Okay, do this in this order, and then suddenly he can do it as well. Where what he used to do is he needed to either pick up manuals in order to start reading it, but the manual was 20 years old, so he didn't do it, or he needed to call in maintenance or engineers in order to do that same job. And now you enable him or her to do that job very easily with the help of the latest, let's say, technology, which is kind of old, but at least he can watch a video which is based upon, well, the latest knowledge.
Yeah, it's old, but at the same time, on the shop floor, if you have
it's
access
new, right?
to the, exactly, if you get access to a video that says, well, try this, and try this, it's super new. And we discussed also that operators are now required to do, let's say, a lot of different jobs. You cannot expect an operator to be an expert in everything. That just won't work, and he or she will be very bored by it, because then the pressure will be very great, and at the end of the day, maybe they will just quit because they will be like afraid of, if something happens, that's on me, and I don't have the means, nor the knowledge, nor the times to understand what should I do. Well, if you provide knowledge, or at least basic knowledge, to say, well, if you've got something, then maybe try those steps. Well, then at least you empower them to try to fix their problem themselves. They feel empowered as well.
Because they feel empowered, for sure.
They can do things themselves, and they are not lost. They are not like the guys who just ask questions, and then, because when you've got a breakdown, if you pass it on to the maintenance, and if you don't have let's say, a closed loop, then only maintenance know what happened, only maintenance know how to fix it, and next time it's going to occur again, then, well, you still have to call maintenance because you just don't know. And that was, let's say, the old way of working. While with a connected worker platform, you can like have a breakdown, register it, you try to fix it yourself. If you cannot, then it's fine, you pass it on to the maintenance. But afterwards, you still have the information inside the platform. So next time there is the breakdown, then you can look up, okay, what did the maintenance guys did? Maybe I need to call them again. That's a possibility. But if I call them 50 times, then maybe they will create an OPL. And this OPL can be used by the operators or by anybody on the shop floors. So maybe the 50th call will be the last one, because they just created an article, and then people can fix that themselves.
And if I may add, so what you see is that you not only empower them, you empower this operator to do more himself, but it will also, and that's what we really see happening as well, it's a non-tangible, I would say, asset or something we bring. It will make him or her feel more proud on his work. And that's at the end of the day what you really want to achieve, because you don't want him to leave. He needs to stay there in order to do his job and make sure that the factory keeps on running. And you make him proud, because now suddenly with the right skills, the right training, and with the right enablement and empowerment, he can suddenly do much more. and much more productively. Yeah. So what would be the reason to not do it?
Exactly.
Fair enough. So, Matthieu, you just talked about maintenance and OPLs. Is that also where root cause analyses come into play?
Where analysis, right?
Root cause analysis.
Root cause analysis, yes, of course. If we take the example of the breakdown that happens 15 times and so on, well, with the connected worker platform, you could define that if, for example, if you've got the same or very similar breakdowns on the equipment, like, 3 times the last 30 days, then you could raise an analysis, for example. Like, there is clearly something that goes wrong with the equipment. You need, or you as an operator or as a shift leader or maintenance teams, we need to work together to find the root cause of those problems. And what we see is that analyses are part of connected worker platform because it's part of this closed loop of I've got a breakdown. This breakdown can occur multiple times, so we need to analyze it. You're doing the analysis within the platform, and hopefully this analysis will feed the knowledge part of things, and the knowledge will prevent the breakdowns. So analysis is really a strong, strong modules, at least for us, and we really think that in connected worker platform that's really useful. You can do, let's say, multiple kind of analysis with it, depends how you set it up, but at the end of the day, the idea is to find together the root cause. And methodology, usually they were quite, 1.0, where you had companies that define their own methodology, but then the tools to enable that would be quite, 1.0, like Excel-based, maybe paper-based, like with 5-time-wise analysis, you do that with Post-it usually. What we see is that you can enable that on connected worker platforms. So that first help everybody to follow the company, let's say, methodology to do root cause analysis properly. But that also enabled people to work together between plants. Because if you have a 5-time-why analysis in one plant on one board with Post-it, then it's super difficult to share it globally. We saw that with one of our customers that started to work with analysis in connected worker platform before COVID times. So they're really like having an edge on it. But with coronavirus, with the fact that it's a little bit more difficult to travel now, or even sometimes just not possible, just impossible, then you're still being able to work together between the plants. You are still able to ring the global maintenance teams to say, hey, I got a problem with these equipments, can you help me? And then work together with multiple plants, with multiple teams on the same root cause analysis. Yeah. And hence you can start to solve the problem.
Exactly.
And you can even look back this. So I've talked about analysis that feed knowledge. This knowledge can be also defined, let's say, globally. So usually what happens in big companies that you've got those global /support teams, maintenance teams. They are helping a lot with analysis, but then when they discover a root cause, sometimes they just want to say to every plant that has, let's say, this particular equipment, hey, you need to, change this filter to another filters because we know that this is problematic and you will save a lot of breakdowns if you do that. And usually what happens is before connected worker platforms, where you just send mails, phone calls, you visit plants, you tell them, well, we had this lesson learned, apply them, and sometimes they would apply it. While with the connected worker platform, you are able to share and spread the knowledge across multiple plants. So you're not only doing things together, those things are helping you, let's say, as an operator to solve your issues, and that could come from not only your plant, not only your teams, but multiple teams.
Yeah. So the last thing I've written down is safety. Do we have anything to say about that? How does a connected worker platform add to safety on the shop floor?
Well, the same way that you see analysis, let's say you've got those global methodologies, safety, it's even more stronger. Like you've got local regulation, of course, first, and usually companies have, let's say, harder regulations than local regulations, because safety is like, that's priority number one or number zero on manufacturing, let's say, thinking. So the same way that you can have breakdowns, you can have knowledge, you can have analysis, well, you can do all of this for safety, right? At the end of the day, it's not a breakdown, it's health issues, it's an environmental issue, it's a safety issue, of course, it's an observations. Yeah. And this can link to analysis. Those analyses, you can find the root cause of health issues, and then you can fit that into the knowledge base. So it's the same loop that instead of applying that to production, you apply that to safety. And it's and the globalization of it, what I've talked about, the fact that you can have, let's say, multiple people working on the same things and so on, this is even more stronger, because safety, it's not an option, right, to implement safety related things. So that really helps to drive safety, the safety mindset across a company, to have one global connected worker platform.
Yeah, and I think what is important, so I agree with you, to get safety processes are number one priority in every manufacturing location. I think that's without a doubt. but really incorporate these processes into the depth of each person. That's where it kind of lacks. And why? Because everybody knows that it needs to be safe, and you need to walk on the right side and within the lanes and etc. That's done already. But then you also need to give, let's say, the employees and the operators, but also the other people, the tools in order to register and act accordingly.
Yeah. And quickly.
And quickly. Mm-hmm. So what we are doing with the mobile application, we provide the ability to register things dramatically fast, immediately, and based upon location, prioritization, automatically workflows kick off in order to notify the right people immediately. Yeah. And immediately that can be, I don't know, fireware, but also the plant director will be notified immediately, the safety people, the safety department, etc. And that then leads to the fact that it becomes part even more of the core of that location and the people, where now our processes well defined and very important. Now suddenly you give people the tools in order to start using it at the same time.
And there should be no, let's say, blockers when it comes to safety. To not do it, exactly. That should be like super easy. And if you've got a separate software, a separate interface, like an Excel sheet somewhere, people will be a little bit reluctant, and that's normal, right? I'm doing my production, I'm going to register the safety observations afterwards. While if you use a connected worker tool, then as we said, like everything is in one tool. So, I just noticed there's something wrong. Let me create an observations. 30 seconds later, you've got the information, you've got the pictures. It is sent to the right people with the right notifications. The operators already forget about it, but it's perfect, because then at least you've got the information and you can start working on it. Yeah.
So I wanted to wrap up the episode with talking about the global perspective of the connected worker and the connected worker platform. But is there anything we want to add to that?
Well, I think it doesn't hurt to emphasize that it is indeed a global solution, meaning what you see at a lot of our customers is that, like, if you produce cheese, or you produce beer, or you produce sodas, or you produce whatever kind of things, at the end of the day you have 10, 20, 100 locations who kind of doing the same process, right? So you get in raw materials, you start to produce things, then you package it, and then you distribute it. That's kind of, let's say, the basic and the standard process. That also means that a lot of the machines are the same, right? And if you have a lot of the same machines with, I would say, I don't know, 5,000, 10,000 people who are operating these machines, you want to make sure that they learn from each other, and that you don't treat them as separate entities, separate people, but make them really part of one community, which and share that knowledge of these people. Because if you have learned something really important in Kuala Lumpur, how cool would it be? It is only 10 minutes later, the operators in North Carolina will use that learning via an SOP at the same time. That never happened before, right? Yeah, perhaps a year later when people met each other in a conference or a call or whatever. But now, creating that knowledge, sharing that knowledge, and working towards the same goals in order to really improve and drive continuous improvement, that's what also this connected worker platform is all about. Because at the end of the day, the goal is the same, right? Make operators more productive, more effective, and more autonomously in order to make sure that they will stay and the output will increase, right?
Yeah.
All right. I think this is a great point to end. Thank you so much, both, for being
you.
here.
Thanks to you.
Thank you for viewing or listening. See you next time.
If you like this episode, please press the thumbs up button and subscribe to our channel and follow us on social media to stay up to date with the latest insights on the digital transition in manufacturing.